Hello, I'm Royal Seeley, aka Minionette, and welcome to my channel. I just got back from KCON the other day, but I wanted to record this while I'm still feeling energized and refreshed. I will be putting out a video about KCON and my experience. I had a great time, but first I want to highlight a piece in my wardrobe that came in the Monday prior. Now, if you follow along my channel, or if you've seen me on Tumblr or on Instagram, you know I'm primarily a sweet Lolita. However, I do have some interest in things like mature sweet and classical styles or influences. I've also been playing around with old school, and I find myself changing a bit in direction with where I want to go in my Lolita fashion journey. Still relatively new to the fashion, so I'm really excited to see how my thoughts and feelings will change over time. So the piece in question is Moitie's Iron Gate JSK. The re-release was announced a week or two ago, and I was expecting it to be a bit more of a bloodbath. However, the release did not offer any shirring. So the next day when I woke up and it was still in stock, I decided I was going to order and give it a try. Now, outside of Lolita fashion, my primary alternate fashion that I wear is more gothic or punk in style, but definitely a more casual version of such. I want to take a moment to highlight my outfit today and the hoodie that I currently have on. It is from the Okashi shop, and I was fortunate enough to see them at Teco this year. They have an Instagram as well as an online shop and several other social media platforms that I'll be putting in the link description. So I want to talk about what appealed me to this JSK in particular, especially because, like I said, I'm mostly a sweet Lolita. I have a lot of greens that I'm focusing on, and the colors I find myself being more drawn to are either green saxes or black colorways. I do have a couple of other colors behind me that you can see or that are off of camera, but as I'm figuring out where I want to go, it's nice to experiment with different pieces. Now, when I saw the Iron Gate JSK, I was immediately drawn to the white colorway because my first thought of that was, well, it is possible for me to coordinate this piece with other colors within my wardrobe that I already have. So it's white mainly with a black border print and a black ribbon coming across. My first thought was, well, I could still wear pink underneath of it, or sax blues. I could even do some of that light, almost ghostly lavender color if that. It arrived relatively quickly, and I was a bit concerned about the measurements listed, so I will be talking about that as well. Measurements that were listed officially are 90 centimeters for the bust and 76 centimeters for the waist. And the description is that there is corset lacing in the back to adjust the sizing, with the assumption to make it smaller, I suppose. So when I got it, I'm just outside of that range when it comes to my waist, but I thought I would give it a go. And I'm really glad that I did. So the bust measurement, I am underneath the 90 centimeter mark at about 88 centimeters, and then my waist is anywhere from 82 to 86 centimeters. And I found that I was able to pull it on over my head relatively comfortably without undoing the corset lacing that came in the back. It is possible to remove that, however, I don't think there would be that much gained by doing so, just because there is no shirring in the back. I'll say that I wore a blouse under it, and I did not feel as though it was pressing too tightly into me, despite being so close to the bust measurement and being over the waist measurement that's listed. So for those who are around the 90 centimeter range in the bust, and for those who are around 82 or so, I think you should be able to fit into this comfortably. There is a zipper on the side which allows for ease of access, so you can tie the corset to your preferred, I guess, amount needed. And then you can unzip it to put it on and off, which makes it a lot easier than having to redo the lacing every time. The fabric itself I was very happy with, so the fabric listed was a polyester, and initially I was a bit concerned as I have had some polyester dresses in the past This Sweet Rabbit's Bustle by Metamorphose is a polyester dress, and I've had a couple of Angelic Pretty's polyester. I've also felt some very bad polyester, so I was a little bit concerned when reading it, especially since I'm someone who runs a little bit warmer. The nice thing about polyester is, generally speaking, I find it easier to get stains out of. I've had tea stains in this white Sweet Rabbit's Bustle JSK that have come out in the wash just by throwing it in there. So for me, especially since I wanted the white colorway, polyester has its advantage that way, whereas it may be more difficult to get something out of a cotton JSK. I definitely find it to be a sturdier poly and not as gross as I've felt some to be. And it's not really a way that I can describe the poly unless you know what specific Angelic Pretty polys feel like. So for example, I really don't like the Happy Garden or the sticker OP poly from Angelic Pretty, and this was not like that at all. It felt closer to a natural fiber. When my partner felt it, they could tell it was poly. So now when I put on this JSK, I've heard a lot about Moitie's quality decreasing over the years, about things being a bit too thin or the skirts being a little bit small. And I don't really have much to go off of just because I've never owned a Moitie piece before. I will say that for the bust section, I found that I needed an extra layer of padding on the chest because something about the fabric, even with a blouse on, tend to cling to certain features and show them a bit through the fabric. So this could be less noticeable if you were to get the black colorway. However, for the white, it is definitely noticeable. So what I did is I added an extra layer of padding, and that seemed to solve it pretty well. Now, like I said before, I initially had planned to cord this with a couple of other colors that I already had in my wardrobe. Mainly this Angelic Pretty blouse that is listed as lavender, but it's somewhere between like a sax and a lavender. And that's to me where the clear difference between Gothic and Sweet really came into play, because I put this on just in a flat lay underneath of the JSK, and the shape of the Peter Pan collar, the soft ruffly nature of this polka dot lace, it did not match the vibe of this Gothic gate, which had sharper figures, and there are swirling figures, but there is still an edge to them. So this was definitely, I understand now, too sweet to wear with it, at least in my experience. Now, this color I do think could possibly go with the JSK, but it would probably go better with something that either was I think it's like a bishop or a button collar, or a more angled blouse. In terms of lace, I definitely wouldn't want something that was polka dot sprinkly with it. I just think it would be too contrasting of a vibe and not a way that is complementary. Since I do think it is possible to do contrasting, I guess, looks in a way that is able to be pulled off, but in this case, I just don't think it worked. And I was really concerned that I wouldn't have anything to wear it with, when all of a sudden I remembered I have these roughly Metamorphose blouses, and I simply took the bows off of the blouse and I wore those. I have a black and a burgundy colorway of this blouse, and with it being so close to KCON, I ended up deciding that I was going to debut Iron Gate at this con, also in the hopes that maybe I would come across other people who had also received the print earlier that week. Now, it was a big weekend for releases, at least in the North Americas, because while I got Iron Gate on Monday, other people had gotten their Milky Planet re-releases earlier in that week or on the day of KCON's beginning. So that allowed me to see a beautiful re-release, and having seen it in person, I think that it looks really nice. But this isn't about Milky Planet. This is about Iron Gate. So I'm going to do a recreation of the cord, and it's going to be more in line with the cord that I had tried on before going to KCON in preparation for that, I have this black ruffly metamorphose blouse, like I said, with the bows removed. And I have my Hime Ringo wig in blonde with newly trimmed bangs. This one has more of a like feathery bang look. Um, and I didn't include the ponytails when I originally tried this on. I wanted to do more of a contrast. People who see me usually recognize me in the brunette wig, and I decided I was going to go with the blonde one. That way, when I have this black metamorphose headpiece canatier on the asymmetrical side, it would stand out more instead of blending into the back as it might with a darker colored wig. For the actual con itself, I ended up putting both of the wig ringlet curls onto one side just to further emphasize the asymmetry of that. I also paired it with a Ghost, the band, rosary, which was black, and I think it ended up pairing very nicely. I was a little bit worried about putting it on, but it all worked out okay. As for legwear, I went with a Bielatage's lace-up tights that are printed on. Overall, I'm pretty happy, and this feels like a really safe core that I can fall back on. I do still have intentions to pair this with some other color blouses or turtlenecks, especially in the coming months. And while I was at KCON, it was really nice because I was given an opportunity to acquire accessories not only for this JSK but for other things. And since I don't really have too many gothic-y things, this was just like perfect timing for me to go and see what it offered. Now, the size of the skirt and the volume that it is able to handle. I believe I used a 3-layer classy A-line petticoat from Me Likes Tea. There was a discount code that I saw on Tumblr for the pre-made items, and since this fit the bill, I had bought it already since I wanted to do more old school stuff, and the skirts for those tend to be a little smaller. This petticoat seems to be the maximum amount of poof I would feel comfortable putting under this dress. I think any more, and it would end up squishing oddly and perhaps being a bit lumpy as the different layers would compress in a way that would not be ideal. So I can say, obviously, the skirt is much smaller than what I would expect for my suite wardrobe, but that's in line with things I have read about Gothic Lolita in general, is that the poof is more minimal. Also asked in some of the discords I'm in how this skirt size compares in terms of relative poofiness and what is expected. There was a lot of confirmation that Moitie pieces in particular tend to have a smaller skirt allowance in general. And this is not just talking about the newer releases, so it is expected that the poof will be smaller. I know as far as sizing goes, it's going to be a bit more limiting, and especially as people grow and change. I don't know how long that my measurements will be in line with this, but I'm happy that I get to enjoy it for now. And I think it would be really cool if they did end up going later down the line and adding shirring to this, since I know for a lot of people this is a dream piece. I understand why they may not want to mess around with the overall design and look since it's supposed to be a re-release and more true to the original. However, I just think it would be nice, and yeah, hopefully they do. Before I left for Teco, I remember that all 3 colorways were still in stock, and I have feelings that it is likely due to this limited size range. Yeah, so I'm not really too surprised about that. Also, finances are usually a bit tighter this time of year. The exchange rate happened to work in my advantage at the time, so that was one of the things that added towards me going for it. One of the positives of Moitie now working underneath of Wonderwell means that any coupons or deals can apply to their items as well, such as free shipping for international orders over 30,000 yen. I'd been looking at this Royal Gate cup and saucer by Moitie for a really long time now. The Iron Gate JSK was priced in such a way that I automatically was able to use this free shipping to my advantage. I really like the way that the gold catches the light, and one of the features that is boasted is that it is dishwasher, microwave, and oven safe up to 200 degrees Celsius. I'm not really sure why you would want to put a teacup in an oven, but I do think it's pretty cool, I guess. Also, that it's cadmium and lead free, so I have been using this for my tea recently, and I'll say it's performing quite well. And with that, I want to say thank you for watching this video, and definitely let me know what you think of the Moitie re-release of Iron Gate, if you bought it, or if you would consider getting it, and what colorway. I also would just be curious to know your general thoughts about what releases or re-releases you would like to see from Moitie in general. If you would like to find me, you can see me mostly on tumblr.com. I recently increased the amount of queued posts that will arrive on the dash from once a day to twice a day. So if you want to see more Lolitas, you can follow that blog, where I post my own chords and thoughts as well as share those from others. You can also find me on Instagram, although I do periodically take breaks. I have a built-in timer for that app, so I am on that one much less frequently. I am Minionette, aka Royal Sealy, and thank you for watching.